Hi, my name is Richard Gatarski, and I'm the founder of WeStreamU AB in Sweden. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this really interesting symposium where I will be talking about live web streaming with subtitles. I'll talk about some challenges, some of the lessons I've learned so far, and hopefully point at some new ideas. First, a little bit about me and my background. I run a small live stream web TV productions company in Swedish. Our ambition is to do stylish, speedy, and smart productions. We do about 200, over 200 productions every year. We are four people full time employed and have a few freelancers in addition to that. We do it on location at conference venues, for instance, or in our small studio downtown Stockholm, where I am right now. We try to do it with no or minimal post production. So we do it live, and when it's over, it's ready and done. We also do accessible productions, and that's why I'm invited here, I guess. I've started the company in 2009, and one of the first productions we were asked to do, they wanted to have accessibility, and this was pre-YouTube. So we used a Swedish service, live streaming service called Bambooser, and our solution at that time, because there were virtually no tools for this, or to do it accessible, was to actually send three live streams simultaneously. So the first one with a traditional camera production with PowerPoints. The second one was that we took the screen from a speech to text reporter on location and sent that out as a video stream. And then we put a camera on the sign interpreters to have a sign interpretation as well. And it was up to the viewers to choose either one, two, or three of those, depending on how accessible they wanted their experience to be. It sort of worked, but I got frustrated, first of all, with the lack of tools and then the way we had to do it. So I started to look at different solutions. Please note there that my focus here is on live streamed web video. I'm not into broadcasting or interested in TV sets or digital video broadcasting in various form or web conferencing systems like Zoom, Teams, and Meet. We sometimes do productions into those systems, but setting them up and managing web conference is not really our thing. And when I started doing this accessibility stuff, I was kind of frustrated, and I wanted to have it done better, and I set up some requirements. And the first one was that I wanted the text and video to be in sync, or at least almost, but in sync, and also that we should be able to have the text recording afterward with timestamps, so we can do, for instance, closed captioning after some editing. And I wanted to support the tools that the stenographers or reporters were using, so they can use their tools that they're used to, and also work with existing live video production tools instead of developing new ones. And finally, I wanted it to be CDN independent. CDN stands for Content Delivery Networks like YouTube and Facebook. So I wanted it to be open solutions, so everybody can use it. All production companies like us, and everybody should be able to have it without being forced into a proprietary system. I'm very for openness and open solutions. First, a little note here about latency. I took this image here from WOSA's web page. Uh, and latency is the delay from the production out to the viewers. And we have real-time solutions like conferencing systems like Zooms and Team, which is sub-second. And then latency is not an issue. Below a second doesn't matter for the subtitles. But it's more difficult when we're working in our and traditional live streaming, for instance, on YouTube, where we have a delay about 15 seconds from production to the viewers. And even worse is that that latency may vary between the viewers. So one viewer might have 10-second latency and another one might have 20. So, and that's really complicate things when you're working with subtitles and want them to be in sync. Some of the challenges in summary here to begin with. One challenge is I'm Swedish. I work in Sweden with the Swedish language. It's a small country, it's a small language, which means that there's a limited set of tools for Swedish, and Sweden is a small market, so the tools are not always available for Swedish. And also wanted to make affordable. It shouldn't cost too much because I want as many as possible to be able to live stream with accessibility like subtitles. And there are challenges around the distribution of subtitles. That is the text that the reporters write, how you distribute that from the subtitlers into the production and then to the end viewers. And part of that challenge is related to firewalls, internet securities that frequently is in the way for us. And the big challenge is to work with open subtitles that I really want, but so far we haven't succeeded with that in a good manner. This picture here shows the control room for Eurovision Song Contest a couple of years ago. And as you can guess, it's really expensive, costs a lot of money. There are tons of screens here, a lot of people involved, and that's sort of out of our league. Our league is, I'm comparing here, just a small comparison. We are 4 employees at WeStreamU. Swedish Television has 2,300. RAI in Italy has 1,100, and BBC has over 11,000, and BBC has 23,000 employees. So this is where we are. Relatively small budgets and relatively little access to technology development and tools and things like that. But we try to do our best with what we have. And one thing we have is nice, flexible video production tools that are frequently software based, like the one we are using, vMix. Another really popular software is OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, which is actually free. It's open source. We have Wirecast and we have TriCaster from NewTek, and there are many, many more. But there are really nice tools for us to do video and audio productions, but it's not that easy when it comes to subtitling. Instead of expensive OB tracks, we use small flight cases, like you can see here in the picture. Our little case here, it holds about 12 bottles of champagne, or you can put 2 cameras in there, a gaming laptop, a headset, a mouse pad, an audio mixer, and some cables. And if you add a couple of tripods for the cameras and maybe some more cables, we can go out and do real nice productions in an affordable way. Let's look at how it looks like from the production to the viewers. If we work with subtitlers at the venue, we have them here and they feed their text into our production system. We send that out to the CDN like YouTube, Facebook, Livestream, Brightcove, etc., and then from them out to the viewers. An example of this is from one case from 2015 where we worked with subtitles. So we're going to look at the end result here. As you can hear, the woman here is speaking English, but the subtitles are in Swedish. Let's look at the video.
Because what we say is we want to bring in people who are different, and we say that we want to see and hear different ideas, but we don't really. We rationalize it that we do.
Okay, so now let's look behind the scenes how we made that. First on the video here you can see the camera production together with PowerPoints, and then over to the reporters who were sitting there and typing their subtitles, and then we took their stuff and put that onto the video as open captions and sent it out to YouTube in this case. You might have noticed here how one of the reporters is speaking into the ear of the other one using a kind of a megaphone made by a piece of paper. And this was because in this case she was speaking English, so he listened, the first one listened in English and then spoke in Swedish to the other one who was typing the text. quick fix solution because it was hard for him to hear the Swedish when he was just speaking out in the air. We've also experimented with automatic captioning. In this case, in 2017, we began using Web Captioner, which is a web-based free service created by an American gentleman, Kurt Grimes. And this video, we can see how it's in Swedish, the subtitles, but I think you get the point, how it sort of automatically appears when he's speaking. So let's look at the video.
Av produkter, varor och tjänster. Och nu och när man designar, då har man med sig de som ska använda det som kommer ut. De som vi gör det här för, de är med i den här processen. Det är det som kallas för användarinvolvering. En annan sak som är viktig, det är det.
And when it comes to automatic captioning or subtitling, we often hear that it's about 95% accuracy. And what I've found so far and still find is that it's not enough, because those 5% that are not accurate, that's frequently the important words. For instance, in this case, it translated process into orange, which is a completely different thing. So we still stick to human reporters or stenographers when we deal with subtitling here in Sweden. In this picture behind the scenes here, you can see two cameras. It was a one-man production who used vMix. On another laptop, we had Web Captioner listening to the audio and then outputting the text into our production system, but also to a projector on stage, so the people at the location can also read the text while it was created. Now we're going to make things more interesting and look into remote subtitling. That is, we have the reporters at either home or at their office or somewhere else. And the first obvious thing is that they need to be able to hear the production. So we have to have the audio from the production out to the reporters, and that's pretty easy. You can do it with a telephone or Skype or some other web conferencing service. That's the easy part. The tricky part is how to get the subtitles from the subtitler out to the viewers. And we can imagine three different paths. The first one is to have the subtitles sent to the viewer's endpoint. For instance, if they're looking on a web page, you can have the text on the web page as well. In practice, I don't think that works because you have the latency here. And as I told you before, it sort of varies. So we never know when the video comes there in comparison to the subtitles. And also, in some CDNs, it's possible to rewind in the live stream, and there is no synchronicity between the text and the video in that case. So that's not a viable solution. The second way is to have the subtitles ingested at the CDN point. So the reporter sends the text to the CDN, who then puts it together with the video out to the viewers. And the third one is you take the text from the subtitlers and send that over to the production system, and then you insert it there and then over to the CDN and then out to the viewers. And here we have the firewall challenge, because typically not typically, but very often when we're out at location, internet security has sort of put the firewall in the way, so we can't use the various technologies to get the subtitles back and forth here. It's simply impossible. We can't do it that way. But I have a solution to that. More on that later on. Let's first look at some solutions or some possibilities for getting the text into the CDN. And I've looked at two different solutions for that. The first one is Falcon from EEG. It's a US-based service, and it's US-based, and it's not for Swedish. And first of all, the reporters they have are typically English-speaking, and it's been difficult for me to use it. I never really got it working. It's kind of relatively expensive, and it didn't work that well with Swedish characters. And then we looked into AI Media, an Australian-based company. We did that with the Svensk Mediatext here in Sweden. And we tried many times to get it work, to have closed caption into YouTube in this case, but it never came out good enough, or almost not at all. So we gave that up. And then we have YouTube, who on their help page says that you can have live closed captions ingested into their systems. We looked at different ways of doing that, but so far we haven't got that working. And one way of doing it is with so-called hardware-based 608, 708 encoders. And this is an expensive piece of equipment. It's about $3,000. It's a third of our total production system, the technologies we use for traditional live streaming. And it's cumbersome to use. We have to take the video out from our production into this box here, and then the stenographers have to use special software applications to get it into that, and then we have to take it out from that into our production and out to the CDN. So it's out of our reach, I would say. So what we fall back, and we and our competitors on the market, what we've done the last year is that we use web-based services like this. In this case, stream text, where the reporters can be anywhere, and then you get the text on a web page. So on the production side here, if you have the video, what you take is a sort of a screenshot of that. You cut it out, and then you impose it or put it as a picture-in-picture or an overlay over the video, and you get it out as open captions. It works, but it could be done in a nicer way, as I will show you really soon. So, in my view, there are no really good, not any really good standards for managing the distribution of subtitles. The embedded 608, 708 solution, as I talked about earlier, it's by the way, it's an old television standard. It's not really made for the web. It should be possible to use, but I haven't succeeded so far. There are some proprietary solutions called HTTP post or WebSockets. For instance, Zoom uses that. They have a pretty good documentation, so you can implement it, but it takes a lot of programming, and then you can get it up and running. But again, the firewalls are sometimes in the way. So what I've done is this year I proposed GetLiveCap, an open standard suggestion for the easy distribution of live subtitling over the web without any firewall problems. I launched that in February this year, and we're going to look a little bit. We're going to look at the little video here from the launch event, so to speak. Hi, my name is Richard Gatarsky, and I'm the founder of WeStreamU, a live stream production company in Sweden. Sometimes in our productions we need captions or subtitles live, and one of the challenges have been how to get the captions from the captions provider into our production. And that's why we are today releasing GetLiveCap, which is a really easy way and cost-effective and also open proposed standard for accomplishing this. And one of the main points with GetLiveCap is that it's using the HTTP GET requests, which means it's very firewall friendly, and that's important for us, especially when we're out at different venues and use their internet connections. And actually the first company in the world to implement this standard is Svensk Skrivtolkning here in Sweden, which roughly translates to Swedish Real-Time Captions Incorporated. And the person who have implemented this and also is doing the captioning today is David Johansson. And the point is I'm here in the studio in Stockholm on the map here, and David, he's up here in Umeå, which is about 7 hours drive from here. And as you can see, he's doing the captioning live from there. And it's been really easy for them to implement GetLiveCap, and it's really easy for me as a producer to get it into the production. We're using vMix today for this live demo. Everything is live. There's been no post-processing, including the caption, which are coming live. And what I do is I get a URL from David, which I just insert into vMix there, and we get the captions down here. Fantastic. If you want to know more about GetLive Cap, it's released on GitHub. You can go there and search for it. And as of the release, it's already supported by vMix and NewText TriCaster, and hopefully other live streaming production softwares will implement it as well, and also other captioning providers beyond Svensk Skrivtolkning. And I also recorded another video yesterday. That was the 11th of October 2020, where I want to show how much functionality you can get with new tools, and in this case with the implementation of GetLive Cap. So let's look at that video. I have quite a few things going on here on my desktop, as you can see, but I will do my best to talk about each of the windows here. What I would like to do here is to point at three things. First, the increased functionality when it comes to subtitle distribution in various tools. And second, to illustrate the delay when you have live streaming. And third, start discussing the issues with the lack of standards. So let me start just by briefly going through the windows. Up to the right here is vMix, the live video switching tool I'm using. To the left, we have text on top, and below that we have a web browser window, and down in the middle we have a Zoom meeting going on, and down to the right we have a YouTube live stream preview going on. So let me elaborate this a little bit by starting with vMix, the vMix window, the production software we're using. There are, of course, other softwares or tools as well, like TriCaster, like Wirecast, like OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, like Livestream Producer, etc. They have different functions. There are, of course, different pricing for these tools. So what I'm doing currently in vMix is I'm actually streaming here from vMix down to YouTube down here. And what I'm streaming is just the subtitle window as open captions or open subtitles. That is, they are burnt into the video. And we don't have any yet because I haven't written anything. So I'm going to switch over now to Text on Top, which is a tool that speech-to-text reporters or stenographers or reporters or subtitlers or whatever you want to call them use to provide text for people who are either hard of hearing or deaf. And the developer of Text on Top introduced in 2020 an edition called Text on Tap. So I'm going to click on the setup screen for Text on Tap events. So I have prepared an event here, and you can do various settings with passwords and dates and times and stuff like that. But I'm just going to point at the way you can distribute your subtitles to other platforms. So I've checked marked here for Zoom. I want to send this to Zoom. I also checked marked RSS or XML because that's what I'm going to use in vMix, my production tool. And there is also a possibility to send as closed caption to YouTube. Unfortunately, that doesn't really work. More about that later. And the developer has also prepared for Teams and Google Hangouts or Meet, but neither of those services offer any way yet to get the subtitles or text into them, so I'm going to skip that. That's not available right now. You can also copy a URL to be used in a web browser. I'll be back about that a little bit later. And there's also functionality that I'm not talking about today, which is overlays. So you can have the text delivered as overlays on any Windows or Mac PC or laptop out there. So I'm closing this one here, and now I'm going up into the setup thing for Zoom. So when you start a Zoom meeting and want to have captions or subtitles in it, Zoom will give you an API token. So you just paste it here and then you connect. I've done this in advance, so I'm just clicking that away. In a sort of similar fashion, I'm clicking on the RSS XML icon because I want to have this XML feed here. It's a URL, so I'm just copying it. I've actually done that beforehand. So back to the desktop. And what I've done here in the browser window to the left is I enter the URL for this event here. So we will get text down here. I talked about getting it into Zoom and now into vMix. So in vMix, there is a function called data sources. This is where I just paste the URL I got from Text on Tap, so I can get the text or subtitles into vMix. And I can see here in a little preview that I will get 2 lines of text from Text on Top. So away with that. So again, I have in vMix here a window which is using this data source to present, to put that text or subtitles on top of the video and then stream that video as open captions to YouTube. So since we don't have any text, let's write some. So I'm in here in Text on Top, and I'm going to write 1 line of text. Here comes 1 line of text. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. Text with X. And as you can see in the different windows, the text has appeared in all those windows. Now let's look a little bit closer at the YouTube window. So when I start writing the text, you can, for instance, first quickly check in vMix that it's coming out, and then look at the YouTube window and see what happens. So another line of text is out. And as you can see, it still hasn't appeared in YouTube. And it still hasn't appeared in... Now it comes to YouTube. And that sort of illustrates the delay you have when you use streaming solutions like YouTube, Facebook, etc., that use the RTMP protocol, which has various delays depending on the viewer's connections and how you set things up. And it's really difficult to get that synchronized with video. So I'm running out of time. Time for some conclusions. It's really easy. It's been for a number of years to mix cameras, PowerPoint, and audio and do live streams out of that. It's a little bit more challenging to incorporate live subtitles. It can be done with open subtitles. It's sometimes challenging, and it's really difficult to do with closed caption. I would say it's still virtually impossible. But the future is coming right up. Thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to a discussion about this and related things. Thanks. Bye.